Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Warhammer Roleplay Week rocks on, as today I'm going to dive on in and take a first look at Warhammer Age of Sigmar Soulbound, Shadows in the Mist from Cubicle 7 Games. This is written by Emmett Byrne, Michael J. Hollows, Elaine Lithgow, Martin Lloyd, Oz Mills, Jacob Rogers, and Casey Shee. This 256-page hardcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $49.99. You can get that free PDF if you happen to order from Cubicle 7 or one of their partners. Or you can also grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $29.99. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Shadows in the Mist. A few things I want to mention before we jump on in. First of all, my friends over at Cubicle 7 Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. These days, it's very important that you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book, but I do want to give you a very good feel for what you're going to find in this adventure campaign. Lastly, this is an adventure campaign. So if you are a Soulbound player and your GM has picked this up, or maybe they're considering picking up Shadows in the Mist, I definitely recommend tune out now. Even though I know nothing about the adventures in this book, we are going to stumble across some spoilers simply by paging through. And you don't want surprises ruined simply because you watched this video. Now, of course, if your game master is considering picking up Shadows in the Mist, be sure to tell them about this video so that way they can approach this to make a far more informed buying decision. So let's take a look at the back here. Welcome to Anvilgard. There is a rot in the heart of Anvilgard. While the anvils of the Heldenhammer looked outward, a cabal of elven outcasts has taken root within the city. Known as the Black Scale Coil, this mysterious group has infiltrated every facet of Anvilgard's society and seeks to make the city their own. But the Coil is not all there is to worry about. An even greater threat lurks in the mist. Venture into the deadly, mist-shrouded streets of Anvilgard in the first ever campaign for Warhammer Age of Sigmar Soulbound. Shadows in the Mist is a sprawling 6-part campaign set within the free city of Anvilgard and sees a group of soulbound heroes tasked with rooting out corruption in the city and exposing the mysterious Black Scale Coil, an organization made up of members of the Darkling Covens, Scourge Privateers, and other elven outcasts. The Coil has used coercion, bribery, and violence to gain a stranglehold on the city. Even the Grand Conclave that is supposed to govern Anvilgard seems to have been infiltrated by the Coil, making it impossible to know who to trust. But an even greater rot is growing in the heart of Anvilgard, one that could consume the city entirely if it is not stopped in time. All right, let's jump on in. So first off, we've got our credits here, so let's make sure that we take a moment to let these folks bask in the glory. We also have some illustrators here. Not going to read all of their names. There's actually quite a few there. I'm not going to read their names because obviously I would butcher at least half of them, but definitely want to share those credits. So it looks like we've got quite a bit going on in this adventure campaign. It is 6 parts, and each of those parts will be divided into a variety of different acts as well, or at least here they're showing that they're parts. We're going to jump on in, and let's take a look at the introduction here. Shadows in the Mist sees the party tasked by Lord Castellan Ephraim Van Helm of the Anvils of the Heldenhammer with rooting out corruption in the city and exposing the mysterious Black Scale Coil, an organization made up of members of the Darkling Covens, Scourge Privateers, and other elven outcasts. It's talking about theme, tone, and feel. Shadows in the Mist takes inspiration from 2 main genres, noir investigations and pulp adventure stories, Anvilgard itself is a city of corruption and vice, a place so corrupt at every level that trust is almost impossible to gain. Anyone you meet could be a black scale coil spy or assassin. Good people are framed for crimes they didn't commit, and murders are a common occurrence that rarely end in justice. Nice. So it looks like we're going to begin with a gazetteer of Anvilgard. Probably discuss some of the regions around the city also. I think it's supposed to be set in the midst of an ever-encroaching jungle. So it looks like these are the various different factions who might be at work within the city. Some places of interest. Look like quite a few different locales within the city. The Oculus Ignis, the Office of Tithes and Duties, the Shifting Scales. We have markets. I think this is more of the various areas. Here we have endeavors, gambling, ritual combat, search the silent auction, spire root attunement. And then I believe this is our first part. The party arrive in the city of Anvilgard and introduce themselves to the conclave. They learn a little about the dangers facing the city and are asked to deal with the most pressing threat, a missing Caradron airship and its valuable cargo, canisters of defoliant for the guns that protect the city from the unceasing growth of the jungle surrounding it. Aha! Well, it looks like the player characters are going to take to the seas because here we've got a ship, the Blackfin. In fact, it even says sailing the Searing Sea. The dead can sail. Looks like quite a lot going on in this first part. Land ahoy. And then we're going to move into our next portion, rotten to the core. Tybor Hallowgate, a member of the Anvilgard Grand Conclave and secretly the leader of the Last Breath Nurgle cult, has devised a plan to imply High Architect Irina Heichstorter has failed to maintain the defoliant cannons that protect the city. Hallowgate plans to replace her with a pawn of his own. Well, looks as if the player characters are going to have to deal with some Nurgle cultists, or possibly worse. It looks like they're trying to assassinate Irina because we have Irina's assassins. And the player characters are going to return that defoliant. This is going to lead us to the third part. Yes, Crucible of Life. On the first day of Hopes Renewed, with warm sunshine on his back, the famed explorer Dawid Hartrock departed Anvilgard with a huge expedition following clues pointing to a storm vault housing a treasure from the Age of Myth. By the month of Meadowswell, the party witnessed the sole survivor of Hartrock's expedition stumble out of the jungle near the city gates, pursued by demons. The survivor's name is Corin Vliesman, and his journal reveals how by the time Hartrock's expedition found the route to the storm vault, they had exhausted their supplies. Vliesman and some others turned back. Hartrock pressed on, presumably to his death. Oh, probably not. Come on, it's an adventure. News of the discovery spreads through Anvilgard and attracts the attention of the Black Scale Coil. Gonna take a guess. The player characters are gonna go off in search of that explorer as well as that treasure. The green hell must be the jungle, obviously enough. Yep, so it's showing different legs of the journey. Few different legs there. So they're going to find that storm vault. So we have the Vault of the Crimson Twins. I would not be shocked if the player characters end up having to fight some representatives of the coil, the black scale coil. Next, we have Petrified Wood. The party encountered the scene of a horrifying murder in the city streets. Not far from the Sylvaneth haven of Spireroot, a Kurnoth hunter stands petrified, shrouded in Anvilgard's mists. After investigating the crime scene and uncovering clues, the party can visit a number of key locations. Spireroot to talk to the coven of branch witches that care for Sylvaneth and Anvilgard, either the prison of Dumdaraz or the home of Irina Heiksdorter. Hey, we remember her. She was earlier in the adventure. Depending on where she currently resides, and the defoliant production facility to uncover the cause of the petrification. So this will be an investigation here. So each of the various different locales. It's like the player characters find themselves in some sewers. Now we have a battle that's going to take place, the Battle of Spireroot. Wow. And here's our aftermath. A cult of Nurgle calling themselves the Last Breath has infiltrated the Grand Conclave and stolen the Crucible of Life, a powerful magical artifact that refills with aqua gyranus each day. Through vile ritual magic, they corrupted the life-giving water of the cup with the Plague Father's touch and spread this aqua nurglis, otherwise indistinguishable from the real thing, even using a divination plate throughout the city in the forms of currency. Once it entered the water supply of the healing houses, the sick treated with the tainted water only became sicker. This campaign sounds pretty interesting. So it seems like this Nurgle cult is actually the bigger problem to have to root out as opposed to just the black scale coil. Then we have Balancing the Scales. This might be the finale. The cult embedded in Anvilgard spent weeks preparing for this moment. They replaced the High Architect with one of their own, stole the artifact powering the jungle's verdant growth, and crafted a substance that fertilizes anything it touches with Nurgle's fecund gifts. Now all their preparations come to a head with one final ploy as they replace the defoliant that shrouds the entire city with a tainted mist of their own making. Cultists and corrupted flora strike from every direction, including within, and in a single night, Anvilgard is overrun. In the last chapter of Shadows in the Mist, the party must take the city back, gathering every ally they have in order to cleanse the infection once and for all. Had a feeling that that cult was going to be a bigger problem. If you're not overly familiar with Age of Sigmar Soulbound, it is a pretty epic role-playing game. The player characters are very heroic, very powerful, even starting out. But you also have to keep in mind that the enemies that they face are pretty major, pretty big bads, even when they're just starting out. Because new characters are actually established heroes. So here we have the aftermath of the battle. That's cool. I like that artwork. The fall of Anvilgard. So it looks as if this chapter is sort of devoted to how this Age of Sigmar Soulbound campaign actually ties into Warhammer Age of Sigmar, the miniatures game. Where were you? So it says, this adventure takes place before Marathi's attack on Anvilgard and ends after the city is fallen. Aha. So the city falls? But I think it ends up falling to the black scale coil. Eventually, I had to be honest, I am not very up on all of the history and backstory for Age of Sigmar. But for some strange reason, I think the city of Anvilgard currently in the game world is under the control of the black scale coil. I could be absolutely wrong. Looks like we've got some naval rules. Yes, ship-to-ship combat in our Appendix A. Then we've got allies and enemies. So we've got our stat blocks for the important NPCs throughout. I think we're going to get some new monsters. Yep, there we go. As well as maybe some new spells. Quite a few monsters here. Creatures, I guess I should say, because there's no indication that they're all going to be monsters or evil. And we got some handouts and an index, and that is going to wrap up a look inside Warhammer Age of Sigmar Soulbound, Shadows in the Mist. To be honest, I think I will do a review of this. Sammy Juhas normally reviews our Soulbound releases, but I think I'll do a review of this because this looks really interesting, and I would like to get a little more stuck in with Age of Sigmar Soulbound than I have in the past. Normally, I share first looks, and then Sammy does the written reviews. But I think I'll do a review video for this because this looks pretty interesting. All right, that is it for this time out. Be sure to join me tomorrow as Warhammer Roleplay Week will continue. But of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this first look, it'll also let you know when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on the YouTube channel, such as the aforementioned Sammy Juhas reviews. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you out there get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.